This is Savvy Wisdom,
the heart-to-heart podcast you didn't know you needed.
hosted by Dr. Tamika Sanders and Cheyennis. Savvy Wisdom is a monthly interactive podcast for women who value their well-being and growth that highlights the unique challenges women face daily.
We talk about the relevant issues, their impact to our well-being, share expert insights, best practices, and provide resources and support for your journey right along with you. Dr. Tamika Sanders has 20 years of experience working with schools and businesses in the areas of training and development, public programming, and leadership development. Her work revolves around bringing a diversity of real-world perspectives into programming initiatives and creating strategic community partnerships that can generate revenue and provide access to resources and opportunities for marginalized groups.
Cheyennis is a multi-talented Cali creative with 20 plus years of extensive banking experience, with a proven track record for driving transformative change and fostering a culture of excellence through process improvement, DEI, strategy planning, and program management. She is also an entrepreneur and focused on intentional well-being, with multiple offerings that allow her clients to connect, learn, inspire, and grow.
Knowing yourself is about discovering what makes you tick. Among other things, it means learning your likes and dislikes, unearthing your personal beliefs and values, and knowing your boundaries. Join us as we explore ways to know yourself better and ask for what you want. Well, hello. Yes. Episode 7. Episode 7.
It's crazy.
Oh my gosh.
It feels like we still just started.
It really does. And today's episode is on knowing yourself and knowing what you want, which has been so highly anticipated. So when we say knowing ourselves, what we really mean is having self-awareness, the conscious knowledge of one's own character, feelings, motives, and desires. And it involves an understanding of one's strengths, weaknesses, thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and motivations. And that's a lot. That's pretty comprehensive. When you hear that, what comes up for you?
Just there's so much in that. Just understanding your strengths, your weaknesses, your thoughts, and your motivations, because those things are always changing, right? It's situational. What you think is a strength sometimes in some situations turns out to be a weakness and working against you, right? But then you may think you have a really good handle on what your emotions are and what you're feeling, or even what you want, and then life happens and everything changes and it's all mixed up. And so
Oh my gosh.
I feel like we're on this constant roller coaster of getting to know who we are, and I think until the day that you're gone, I don't think you ever stop really doing that journey of self discovery. Like, you have your basics, but I think you keep changing, and I think that's a good thing. Like a butterfly, right? We're always transforming. The more we know, the better we do, and the better we are. But it's a process.
It definitely is a process. And I love that analogy of the cocoon and the butterfly, because I've definitely been feeling like I've been in a cocoon, and I have been kind of spreading my wings. But then it also feels like it's very cyclical. Like each month, it's like I'm becoming a new butterfly. I'm like, wait, is it supposed to be happening in such rapid succession like this, though?
Yeah. You're like, is there a little time in between? Why is it so sudden? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it almost feels like I don't know, it's like I just got on this train, it's already time to get off. Like, dang, how many I got all these stops.
Right. Like, I thought I was done.
Yeah, so you never quite feel settled, which then when you think about that concept of knowing yourself, like I think there's this expectation that you are going to feel settled, that it is a finite destination,
but it never is.
I think it never is, but I think this is a good point to check in.
Yeah.
So you want to?
Yeah. So our check-in question today, because we're talking about getting to know yourself, and we talked about this continual kind of roller coaster. It's how do you actively work on understanding yourself better? So how do you actively work on understanding yourself
that
better?
is you want to start?
Yeah, you know what? It changes. When I was younger, I used to journal a lot. I probably almost like every
Mm.
day, every other day. And then it got to, as life gets in the way, you get busier. And then it was like once a week. Then it was like once a month. Then it was like once every 6 months. Like, and then it was
Oh my
on New Year's,
gosh.
like every New Year's Eve. I'm like, let me summarize my whole year. Um, but it just because that journaling gave me a chance to write, go back and look at what I wrote and then reflect on it. But now what I do, I have these weekly check-ins with myself. And me and my husband, we get to do this a lot where
Ooh.
we're like, all right, what do you got going on this week? What do you need help with? And what do you need like accountability for, right? To just make sure that you're doing what you say you're going to do, the goals you're going to set, and then, just being that accountability partner. So that's kind of it now, but I still journal. When I really am going through it, I have to sit down and I write and I just get all of it out. I don't care what it sounds like, looks like, I just get it out. I usually will give it maybe a day and then I'll go back and read it. And then I think about, okay, if this was someone else that was like I was diagnosing, like I'm a psychiatrist, right? I'd look at it, I read it, and I go, okay, if this was
Yeah.
somebody else going through this, how would I help them? What advice would I give? What would I say to them? And then that helps me kind of rationalize my thoughts, think about it from a different perspective, and make it so it doesn't feel so
Oh.
personal. Because it goes back to my favorite quote. Sometimes when things are falling apart, they're actually falling together. But when you're in it, when
Yeah.
it's falling apart, you cannot see the falling together. All you see is falling apart. And so that's kind of what I do to just check. I have my partner, but then I have my journaling and my kind of weekly, weekly goals, monthly goals, yearly goals, so I can kind of stay on point with where I'm trying to be and adjust, because maybe what I wanted last month isn't what I want this month. So what about you? How do you actively
Oh my
check in and,
gosh.
and, and make sure you're doing that work to know yourself?
Yeah. Well, I kind of cheated a little bit because, of course, with this podcast series, this has been my way for me to actively understand myself and work on myself and understand myself better, kind of like piece by
Yeah.
piece. um, and just kind of having these like aha moments every month so that I'm slowly introducing like maybe a new facet into things. So of course we started with the superwoman syndrome, and it was just first having that awareness of the mode that I was operating in, having that understanding of why, having an understanding of what that was, how that was showing up and how that was looking, how that was making me feel. And then of course coming to that like not realization, but coming to the acceptance that my support system was not what I needed it to be. And I was going to need to make some changes in order to change. I was going to need to make some changes to improve that. But it's like in order to improve that, you also have to understand like what it is that you're looking for in a support system, what you need in a support system, and how you show up, for your support system and what you have the capacity for. Because I don't think it's a secret. Like everybody is going through it right now. Like everyone is juggling like 50, 11 things, and ain't nobody got time to be raising additional kids, you
That don't
know,
belong to you.
that don't belong to you. Um, and so like yeah, I've just been working on my self-awareness of understanding like okay, I actually do need people, like I need to better understand myself, but it's also so that I can understand how I am interacting with and showing up with other people, because I can't do any of this without community. And I would say that's also been like the biggest activator for understanding myself better, because it's like the more people that I get to know or bring into my fold or my social my circle, through the different aspects of my life, they're definitely going to show me who
For
I
real.
am, right? It's going to be like a mirror reflecting. And it's like, oh, if you don't like what you see, then you need
You
to do
gotta
something
change it.
about that.
Yes, that is a great point.
Yeah.
Great point. The people, your social group, and your circle, that does tell a lot about you. And especially
Yeah.
if you're listening and you've got a good social group, you will definitely, they
Yes.
will tell you, And even if they don't say it in words, they're going to say it in actions or inaction. With
Ooh,
you
yep.
may have really cool people, and all of a sudden, whatever you're doing, you don't see them that
Yeah.
much anymore. It could be that they're busy, but it also
Man.
could be that they're not feeling your energy anymore, and they just themselves from
Yeah.
you. And so it's like you just never know, the action or inaction. It will tell you. So that's
Yeah.
great.
Ooh, man, that was I was like, nope, not going down that memory
No,
lane.
no.
I think I'm doing a pretty good job right now, though. I think I'm doing a pretty good job of surrounding myself with some wonderful, wonderful individuals who just help me to bring out these aspects of myself that I had been maybe shying away from. No pun intended. But just really helping me to bring out like who I authentically am, because especially as I started the journey with human design back in February. I was looking it up. It was February 10th when we looked at our human design, our human design charts, and recognizing that, yeah, authenticity is very, very important to you, but not in the way that you thought it was, but more in the because you haven't been practicing authenticity because you haven't been feeling safe enough to practice your authenticity. And then you're seeing inauthentic actions and behaviors in others. And there's just like all this cognitive dissonance, girl. And it was just doing a number on me. Like, what is really real here?
Yeah.
So I say all that to say I am so thankful because I am surrounding myself with individuals that like they gonna let you know, like they are going to keep it very, very 100. And I realize that I need that. Like it kind of puts me on notice, puts me on blast, but it's very, very
You
helpful,
do
you
need
know.
it. But what about people? We're kind of a little luckier because we know ourselves a little bit more, and we've
Yeah.
been doing the work to make sure we stay in tune. But what about
Yeah.
people that they don't really know? What are some ways that they can just get started and going, you know what? I'm not really sure what I
Yeah.
want and how to go for it. Where do I start?
Yeah.
What are some great ways for them to start?
Absolutely. So knowing who you are and being who you are is really getting getting clear about your purpose, getting clear about your gifts, and getting clear about your passions. And um, I would say this is something that you can do on your own. I'm probably going to be a little bit biased in that I've actually created, of course, a coaching program where I was really kind of breaking this out because as I have been kind of learning through these different educational offerings and different modalities, it's all pretty much kind of saying that same thing of okay, so what is it, how do you like, what are your gifts, what are you practicing, like what are the things that you are specifically known for, and then for your passions it's like what are the things that like you really want to do that like just really bring you joy. And it's like even if you're not getting paid for it, you just find yourself just like really falling into that.
Yeah.
What about what about for you?
Yeah. No, I love all of that. That purpose for me, that purpose is so important. If I And you know what's crazy? I have so many people in my life that don't have a purpose. They get up in the morning,
Yeah.
they go to work, they go home, they look forward to the latest movie or the latest show, and like that's their purpose, is just surviving, and maybe going on a vacation or
Yeah.
something like that. But they don't have anything,
Yeah.
any higher purpose that they're going for, or a goal, or something that's
Yeah.
like driving them. And for me, if I didn't
Yeah.
have something that was driving me forward every day, when things get hard, which life does, right? I think I
Yeah.
would just stop. I would just literally lay down and
Yeah.
quit because I didn't have a reason to keep me going and keep me motivated. I would just stop or change course real fast, right? And so for me, that passion is
Yeah.
really, or I'm sorry, that purpose is really important. And then the passion, that passion of
Yeah.
that that
Whew.
having the passion for my purpose, it is driving me and
Yeah.
pushing me forward. So it's giving me energy even when I'm tired. I'm like, you know what,
Yeah.
this is filling me up, right? It's refreshing me, so I can't stop,
Yeah.
because everything else might be draining your energy, but that thing, that purpose, that goal is fueling you, and so it's worth it. So yeah.
And I feel like this year has like I've been kind of, I don't know what the exact word is for it, but I've been just really trying to figure out a way to make it all come together on the what I'm meant to do.
Yes.
Like, so there's of course your purpose, there's your gifts and your passions, but they may not all
That part.
align. And I've really been struggling with this because I have 20 years of corporate conditioning. I love using my intellect, though. I love, love, love using my intellect when it comes to organizational culture, when it comes to how do we make things better? How do we make things more efficient? How do we work better together? Obviously, it's what got me down this educational path of studying organizational and consumer psychology, right? So I've got that going, and I know that I want to make a difference within organizations, but then um there's my passion of jewelry and of pole fitness, and it's like, okay, well, you can't exactly go into the office necessarily with that. I mean, obviously, I can go into the office wearing my jewelry, but the type of jewelry that I've been gravitating towards, that goddess energy jewelry of like crowns and body chains and things where you're not going to be wearing things that are to dress code. It's like, again, how do you make that fit together? And then just going, and then also thinking about purpose, because when I did that multicultural women's executive leadership program that I finished in January, I highlighted that my purpose was to help people um, realize and actualize and learn the things about themselves that they didn't show themselves, like what they didn't even know that they were capable
Right.
of. I don't have it memorized, but I know that that's what I'm here to do, and it comes up for me in interactions with people. um, but I think there's also this thing where you're expecting this grand, like, I don't know, like you're expecting it to just be the grand, like the grand thing that you're doing in your day to day. But lately it's been more like, wow, somebody's saying, you influenced me on this, or they follow up on something that we were talking about, like, I was looking into this, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm actually making small one-to-one differences.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah, sorry,
No, you hit it on the nail with your gifts and your purpose and your passions. Sometimes they do not
yeah,
align. Like again, I got the corporate social
yeah,
conditioning also. It's like, but
yeah,
because at my core, I am an artistic and creative person. It is poetry, it is
yeah,
music, it is dance, and it is bringing that creativity out in other people. And I use that
yeah,
in the corporate world to be, the employee experience, the training and development, the leadership.
yes,
But it's like, because like you said, I can't just go into corporate spaces, teaching people how to, do poetry and creative writing, but I can teach them how to do
yeah,
brand storytelling, right? Like, so it's like I have to fit my
yeah,
passion and what I love to do to make it fit corporate. But then the other part of me, it goes back to I want to leave this world better than what I came into it. I
yes,
don't want my children to be facing the same battles that I did. So it's like with my little sphere of
yeah,
influence, what can I do? So it goes back to community. It's like arts, education, community. Those are my
mm-hmm,
three like pillars that everything I do is around those three: arts, education, community. And it all fits. And so it's like if I am educating people on how to uplift their community and be better people and to be better artists,
yeah,
I'm doing my job, right? But I can't
yeah,
bring all of that all the time into corporate spaces. So I have to choose which thing,
yeah,
I get to bring in. Cause you're right, it doesn't always fit all the time. But we are both working on making our side hustles our main hustles so that one day we can be all of
yes,
those things in our space because it's the space we have created that it was built for all of those
yeah,
things. But until then, we
yeah.
gotta fit in where we can get in
Whew.
and bring that part
Oh
of
my
us that
goodness.
does, fit in that space there and still gives us joy and purpose. So I love it. But it's a
Yeah, I
struggle.
love that.
It's a struggle for creative folks.
Oh my, it is. And then, oh my gosh, I got to tell you, I was kind of going through it in the last couple of weeks because school, man. I I feel like my expectations weren't necessarily aligned on just how time consuming.
Yes.
school was going to be. I feel like, if memory serves me corrected, I was told it would be a certain amount of hours, and I'm realizing, no, this is a whole ass
It's a lot.
job.
It is. It is a whole other job. Your master's is no, they're not playing with all the reading that you do,
I,
with the actual assignments.
yes.
It just yes, it is a whole nother job. If you
And it's
gotta do
it
it
is
well.
interesting because the things that I'm learning, like, I love what I'm learning, right? But then I have this like internal battle because it's okay, but this means all of these other things are not getting done, and this is making me feel some type of
I
way.
know.
I'm looking at my laundry pile, I'm looking at, my unmade jewelry, but I have all these ideas and none of that is coming out. And having just all of this energy that um I'm not able to
Yeah.
direct, I guess, in the way that I would like to direct when I want to direct it. So
Yeah.
been really just trying to figure out ways on get maybe I need to rewatch the integrated life and finding balance episode, because girl.
Well, remember we said sometimes your life, like right now, you're doing your master's. There's going to be some times in your
Yeah,
life where that work life balance is not as achievable because you have actual
yeah,
things, deadlines that need the focus. But then when you do have it, it's only for a short amount of time. This program isn't going to take 4 or 5
yeah,
years. It's a limited amount of time. So
yeah,
in that limited amount of time, find the balance where you can, and that might mean some stuff has to sit on the shelf and wait a little bit, or you've only got maybe 20 minutes or 30 minutes for, or an hour versus all day like you used to be
yeah,
able to do. But it's worth it because this is a milestone for your master's. Master is it's worth it, right? But
yeah,
in the short term, it does
yeah.
feel like everything is it's taking an
It feels like
unfair
it.
amount of time, right, away from everything
Yeah.
else. Yeah,
Yeah. And then I feel, and then it makes me feel like I'm not really being solid in my word, or like, it just because I'm not coming across as commit, like I'm not showing up 100% in these other
mm,
areas, and it's
yeah,
like, ooh, is this like misrepresenting who I am? Like, are people gonna like not want to take me seriously or support
mhm,
me because it's like, listen, I don't have a whole lot to give right
right.
now.
Because you're developing yourself. You're pouring back into yourself right now.
Yeah.
And that does mean
Yeah.
that other things take a little bit of a backseat, but you just let people know, like, you know what, I would love to help you
Yeah.
out on that. I'm doing my master's right now and I will get back to you. Or this is how much
Yeah.
time I can actually give to that. Like it's only this amount of time and that's it.
Yeah.
I can't give you any more. Or I
Yeah.
can give you some resources, or I can point you to someone who could actually help you more than I can right
Yeah.
now. But
And that's the cool thing. I have been meeting a lot of people, so it's making it much easier for me to be like, you know what? Actually, I've got so and so I can refer you to, and that's actually another great thing
there
that's
you
been helping in building
go.
relationships. But I think this would be a good point to get into some tips for gaining self awareness. So why don't
Yeah.
you?
So one of the things that Shai touched on is the human design. Shai introduced me to that
Yes.
early this year in February. I had no idea. I've
Yeah.
heard about horoscopes and the other kinds of things, and
Right.
your sun signs and your birth charts and all those things, but this is
Yeah.
completely different, and it was really, really, really eye opening. And so if you have the chance to do that, we'll have
Yeah.
resources so you can look into that. But also
Absolutely.
identifying what you value most about yourself and just in life period. That's a big one for me. It's like, what do I value? If every and
Mm.
it's what you said, Shy, in the beginning, it's the thing that you would do um, even if you didn't get paid for it, you
Even
would
if,
do it all the time
yeah.
because it brings you that much joy. And then the other values, like, do you
Yeah.
really value? I value loyalty and trust. Those are really big for me. But
Yeah.
I also admire my relationships and just really genuine, true connections. And so because I value
Yeah.
that, there's certain ways that I have to show up in my life to be worthy of the
Yeah.
trust and the loyalty and the genuine connections that I
Yes.
want. I have to show up that way. So that's something. So once you figure out what you really value for yourself, in other people, and in life, that's a big one. But also if you I journal a lot. I already said I journal a lot, so keeping a journal is a
Yeah.
big one for me. And then trying new things, that's a really big one. If you are feel like
Yes.
you're in a rut, whether you're eating the same food all the time, going to the same places, just switch it up
Hmm.
and go try something different. Go to a new part of town, go to a new restaurant that you might not ever try to go
Yes.
to. Go learn a new type of dance. You want to do some salsa or some merengue or some, African drumming, or like just try new things. And
Yes.
you just never know, one, who the people you'll meet, the way it'll open up your mind and open up a new part of yourself. So those are some of the tips that I like, from the ones that we've got listed. Shy, which ones do you like a lot?
Yeah. Ooh, I mean, learning new things has been, gosh, that,
You're
okay,
forced
so
to learn
learning
new
new
things.
things to the point where one of these, but one of the, it was, I think it might have been the week of midterms, which was last week. And I Googled, um, like, is there such a thing as information overload? Like, is there such a thing as, because I was like,
You're like, my
listen,
brain's gonna explode. I can't learn one more thing.
can you please get off our necks? Because, oh my
Oh
God.
my God.
Oh my God. Um, and I was just like, this, like, I'm learning so many concepts, and to synthesize this information, like, I don't know if this is even humanly possible. But the cool thing about, learning something new is, then again, you get to learn and you get to expand your capabilities, and you get to better understand yourself and why you do the things that you do. I don't think it is a coincidence, that I've gone the path now of applied psychology, because again, I'm trying to figure out, like, what are we doing? What's going
Yeah.
on? Definitely the try new things. And you were talking about going to a different part of town, and I realized through my vending experience with 12th Summer, I have been seeing all kinds of parts of Sacramento that I never saw before, in the prior, almost 5 years that I've been
Mhm.
here. And at first, I was kind of like a little disappointed in myself, but then I was like, you know what, though? We're doing something about it now. And it just feels so, like, it feels so rewarding. It feels so cool to, like, just, be exploring, almost like I'm a tourist, if you will. Um, let's see. Oh, yes. Evaluate what's working and what's not. I think with the amount of passions that I have,
Mhm.
with the amount of passions and gifts that I have, it's become abundantly clear to me that, I need to pay attention to when that superwoman, when those, signs of superwoman mode come up, when I am feeling like, I don't know, something's not feeling right, when those spidey senses start tingling. That's like, okay, we need to look at this and figure out if we need to cut it out, because we don't have time for this. So I would say those would be some of the things. I'm not much of a journaler, unfortunately, but I will record in my, what is it, my Apple Journal map app, on days where, like, it was just, I was feeling like spectacular. I don't know. I for whatever reason, I like to capture those moments, like those definitive moments of, like, wow, like, I just have to get all of this out, but it's the good for some reason.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love those. I think the ones that I want to add to remind people that once you get to know kind of what you value, what you like, you're trying new things, you also have to then go back and be real about evaluating your own strengths and weaknesses. Because we're
Ooh,
usually really good
yes.
about knowing our strengths, but we kind of shy away
Yeah.
from our weaknesses. And
Yeah.
if you don't pay attention to that and kind of know how that could either be helping or hurting you, it's important to know that. And
Yes.
then also go back and look in your life and evaluate what is working and what is not working. So, again, the things that aren't working, you can look at why and either get rid of them or adjust what you're doing so that they can work. So, that's two other things that I think are important to mention there with your awareness. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something you want to keep doing
Yes.
as you go through. Never stop evaluating strengths and weaknesses and what's working and what isn't working.
Yeah, whether it be weekly or
Yeah.
monthly, I would say probably I feel like a healthy, like maybe a month would be like kind of kind of healthy. And then of course, like as we were talking a little bit earlier, I was thinking about the four blockers. Because like, doing projects at work and it's like, okay, what's been completed, what's in process, what's up
Yep.
next, and what have been the risks and the issues. And I know at some point eventually I am going to just have to do the thing and make the little four blocker for myself as if I am my own
Yeah,
project.
and sometimes you have to, right? Because we are projects, and the busier you get, which you are real busy right now, you're gonna need some of that project management on yourself to really, really make
Yeah,
sure that what you want to accomplish is getting accomplished. But yeah.
yeah.
But we also have like we
Well,
yeah, we know what leads us
no, go ahead.
and gives us purpose and gives us drive and knowing ourselves. But what are some of the dangers? There's a real danger when you don't know who you are, and you don't really have a purpose. And I'll just touch on a few, Shy,
Yeah,
and then I'll turn it over to you. But when
yeah,
you don't, the absence of purpose, and I kind of talked about this. If I had a life without purpose, it would really, I just would really be unfocused. So that lack of direction is a really big one. It's almost like being
yeah,
on a ship and you don't have any navigation. You're just out there in the water floating and going
yeah,
wherever that current is taking you versus really setting the sails, having your compass and saying, I want to go north, right? It's important.
yeah,
But also, I think it can strain your relationships when you don't know what you want, especially if you're surrounded by people who do know what they want and who do see your
ooh,
strengths and
yeah,
who see your gifts and they see you just wasting them. That will really that is one way for me to stop being friends
yeah,
with somebody. When I see somebody with so much doggone potential and they just wasted it, I
yeah,
just be like, I can't with you no more. I can't. Um, and then difficulty making decisions. That's another big one. When you don't have purpose, it's hard for people to make those decisions. And what they say, if you don't have a purpose, someone will give you a purpose, and you're going to be fulfilling somebody
yeah,
else's life plan. And again, taking care of somebody else's baby, whether that's their company, their actual business, their actual family, whatever that baby is in the life that's not yours,
yeah.
you're going to inherit that because you don't have a purpose and someone's going to see that you lack direction and they're going to give it to you.
Ooh,
So whether you want it or not. So those are the ones that stick out to me when I think about how I would feel when I don't have a purpose.
yeah.
So what about you, Shai?
Oh my goodness. Definitely the lack of direction. But then the challenge coping with
Mm,
setbacks. And without a clear purpose, you will find it harder to cope with setbacks, leading to feelings of anxiety, stress, or helplessness in difficult times. And, thinking about that makes me reflect on the mindset book that we read at the start of the master's program on fixed and growth mindset. And it was this big, like, aha moment for me of, oh my goodness, well, up until a certain point last year, I thought my purpose was pretty clear, and that was to just continue to be successful in in the corporate space and continue to excel, until I got to a place where it just really finally felt like until I actually got to the real seat at the table, because I did experience a lot of like autonomy and job design and things that were making me full within the roles that I was in. I was definitely given control, but I still wasn't at the actual seat. I was still sitting at the kitty table. And so I think for me, it was like, my purpose was to finally get to that, I guess, that height of achievement. I got all the other material, had gotten all the other material things, for myself from just, working down that path. But that was the purpose. And then of course that was like, that's no longer an option for you, at least not here. You ain't got to go home, but you get to get the hell up out of here. And I've been trying to figure out where here is, and that's been a struggle for sure. And when you're used to having success, when you're used to having what you thought was a clear purpose, and then everything gets rattled, you may not realize it, but you actually are operating in a fixed mindset. And so I think that's very much related to an absence of purpose leads to limited growth and development. So without clear purpose, you will find it harder to set and achieve personal or professional goals, limiting your overall progress, because it's like, okay, where should I be putting all of my energy towards? I'm so passionate about my jewelry and everything, but the reality is it is not bringing home the bacon. I can't live like I can't live off of it right now. So it's like I got to get real, and so going through this program, but it's also like, do I also have to serve someone else's purpose in the meantime? So that I can actually get to my
Yeah.
purpose. So I would say that. And of course, yes, the difficulty making decisions. How can you decide on things if you don't know, that? Like, that's literally like what, what I keep fighting against. Oh, and let's not forget, there's one more layer to this. Everything that is going on around us with this country, girl.
Oh my God.
I'm not going to
It's
get
scaring
too
me.
specific into it, but it's like, am I supposed to be building this life that I'm trying to build here? Like,
Everything
what is really going
right.
on?
Yeah.
Or should I be building an exit plan? Because
I get it. But you're right. Those are things you have to think about when you're thinking about your purpose, because you might start realizing I'm
yeah.
building on ground that's not solid or that's shaky. So everything
Mm,
that you built could
yeah.
literally fall apart because the foundation that you're building on, you don't have control over whether it's going to fall apart or not, right? And so you do your best, but then you
Yeah.
also have your plan B, like you said, your exit strategy. Like, all right, if everything else fails,
Yeah.
this is my plan B. And I think that is the exact way to think of
Yeah.
it, because there are certain things that we cannot control. You can do everything right with your business,
Yeah.
with your degree, with your jewelry, and then you get a pandemic, right? And then a whole bunch of, yeah,
Yeah.
you can't control that, right? And so there's things that
Yeah.
happen all the time. And so the best that we can do is plan for it and then have an exit strategy or plan B.
I would say we gotta start planning, and with that in mind, I love that you recommended, doing a 30-day self-discovery challenge so that we can start to get in alignment with who we are, and figuring out that purpose, and then of course those fail safes and plan B's and all, and C's and D's maybe
Girl,
at this rate.
and there's so many. So thinking about the challenges, I really thought I found this and I thought this is so great for us because we all need it and it keeps us, what I like to say, it just, it's like a nice check-in to be like, well, what do you want? So with
Yeah.
this challenge, you've got a couple things that you can kind of do. But you want to, one, first start off, identify the purpose. That's your big
Yeah.
thing. And if you can't do that first, start working backwards. Think about what your values are, so your beliefs, your principles,
Yeah.
things that are core to who you are. Recognize, again, write down your strengths and weaknesses, do a little SWOT analysis on yourself, and look at your opportunities. What opportunities are coming up for you personally,
Yeah.
professionally, in any of those spheres you operate in that might be able to be really helpful. Evaluate your career path. If you need to find a career path, if you're on the right career path, or the career path you are on
Yeah.
isn't going anywhere or isn't serving you, you got to
Yeah.
reevaluate, right? And then learn. Take some trips. This goes back to like trying something new, discovering who you are, discovering what your passions, what are the things you really love to
Yeah.
do that you would do all day for free, even if nobody paid you anything. You would do them willingly. Those are going to be the things that are your passions. They drive you and they give you energy. And then how do you stay inspired when things are falling apart? What helps you? Like for me, I know shot, glass of
Yeah.
wine, some music, I go
Yeah.
dancing, I go open mic, like those
Yes.
give me energy and keep me inspired. Um, Even when things are falling apart. So those are some of the challenges.
Oh my
And Shai,
gosh.
what do you think when you think about these? What are going to be the areas either that you're going to be like, "Ooh, this one right here is going to give me problems," or this right here is I'm gonna love this challenge? Which
Mm. I don't need to discover any more passions.
you don't have time. You don't have passions. You don't have time.
I don't need to discover any more passions. The observe and learn, I mean, that's inherently built into this
Yeah,
program. But of course, being who I
yeah.
am, I actually just purchased the electronic version of this textbook that came out
Ooh,
that was written by, oh, and I wish that I took down her name, but I'll put it on the screen, of course. But she went to Spelman and she co-wrote a textbook with I think another Spelman alumni, and it is called The Psychology of Black Women. And what I love about it, I started reading it a little bit, but what I love about it is that it kind of goes into the areas that a lot of prior psychology teachings don't go, in that it gets into intersectionality. It's understanding that we are not a monolith, and I'm just like really excited about digging into that. But again, with the way this homework is set up and everything, like
so,
might not be able to read it, as often as I would like to. I feel like it's the staying inspired probably is what's going to keep me kind of motivated with it. Staying inspired and just continuing to trust. I know it's not on here, but continuing to trust my intuition. Had a really great conversation with someone yesterday, and and in that conversation, so much was validated in, and I'll have to talk to you about that a little bit later. But so much was validated in, girl, how many different ways do you need to be shown that you do be knowing?
right.
so so I would say that for me,
Mm,
that this has been, I know, like we could probably talk about this like for like way longer than what this episode would allot. But I highly, highly, highly recommend, if you are feeling maybe lost, don't know where to start, getting your human design report. And there's a really excellent one for free that I will give the link to, will really help you to get to kind of like start that journey and that process. And then of course we've got some books that we will be
yeah.
recommending.
And the one book you mentioned, yours, The Psychology of Black Women, but there was, when we were researching this episode, there was one that I found called The
Yes.
Color of Emotional Intelligence, and it's
Yeah.
by Farah Harris.
Yes.
I already put that on my list to get. I would definitely check that out. Emotional intelligence, there's so much. If we just had that, there would be so many,
You know,
the amount of problems in the way we communicate and interact with people would be so different. But we don't all have that same type of emotional intelligence when it comes to our own self-awareness, but also
yes.
the of understanding how we affect others as well. And so it's important to kind of look at
Yes.
that. But the challenge,
And I love that it's through that lens,
it
though.
is.
I love that it's through like finally speaking in our language, because we were talking about this. We do so much emotional labor on top of
Yes,
just what the on surface or
job
on
is
paper thing
right.
is. And so I cannot wait to,
Yeah.
because emotional intelligence is something that I've been developing, but never in my language.
Yes,
So
yes, and yeah, and it's going in it for Black women. Just woo! It's hitting all the points because there's a lot of
yeah.
things that that we're going through, and it's nice to have language to really talk about those things. But we definitely hope you enjoyed today's episode. You come in, you tell
Yes.
us about the 30-day challenge and what you learned and what you did and what you
Yes.
tried. Remember to always like,
Yes.
subscribe, and share. We do this to inspire and uplift you. So make sure you let us know how you're feeling and how you're loving it, and keep on following us.
Yes. Yes, please. Oh. Well, thank you so much.
Here's how to connect with me for any of your business or educational consulting needs.
Here's how to connect with me for any of your business and individual needs.
We hope you connect with us on Facebook and Instagram.
Once you understand who you are and what you want, it's time to ask for it. We all have the power to manifest what we want, but it doesn't happen overnight. Although manifesting is about turning your dreams into reality, it does require you to take proactive steps toward whatever it is you desire. Manifesting isn't about getting, it's about becoming. So join us next time as we share tips to help you unlock the power of manifestation and ask for what you want and expect to receive it.